Hey guys, welcome back. It's your favorite Gimp with Limp, and I'm here with the first part of our playthrough that we're going to be doing on Tank Duel. Apologize, I know some of you guys were wanting to see multiple tanks on each side. It's just really hard to film it that way. I can let you guys see a lot easier when I just have a couple of the boards on the table. So that's what we're going to go with, something a little more simplistic. We're not going to play through a whole 3-deck game because that would take a little while. We're going to play through enough, though, so you guys can see how the game operates and especially how the robotic operates. I think the base game itself isn't that difficult, but the robotic really does change it up from its original way that it's played when it comes to heads up. Now, the cool part about this game is it can be played really massively. I think you can have up to like 8 people playing at the same time. So there are a bunch of just generic player aids for everyone to use, and you guys can tell just by looking at the player aid that there are a lot of steps to this game. It's not as bad as when you first look at it, but you know, you gotta just take your time, walk through the steps as you go on. Trust me, I've made mistakes. I will make mistakes in this playthrough. It's just one of those games that does that. But when it comes to the Robota, the player aid is a lot bigger. That's where a lot of the difficulty is going to come into it, because there's so much, it's hard to describe it, so much of if this then that I was trying to describe to you guys before, that it kind of adjusts itself based off the situation of the game. But let's start and let you guys see how that's going to operate. There's a sequence of play right here at the top of our player aid. It shows that we start with our draw phase, we go to our initiative phase, tank phase, where they just act, and then reinforcement phase. The neat thing about this game that I actually didn't know before I started playing it is that you're never really out of the game. In essence, you have unlimited tanks. So no matter how many of these T-34s I blow off the board, another one's just going to take its place on the very next turn. So that could happen no matter how many tanks that you're playing with. You could have 2 tanks like this or 8 tanks on the board. A new tank will always take its place. And that's to abstract and simulate the fact that this isn't a battle between just these 2 tanks. This is a battle between 2 forces that are going at it. You're just actively controlling one at that moment, but you just kind of take over for another tank that's on the battlefield if your tank gets destroyed, if you get what I'm saying. So you can never really be taken out of the game. Your opponent can just keep racking up the points and, win. So we start off with our draw phase here, and there's, just like every other part of this game, a lot of modifiers that are going to affect it. So your standard hand size is 4, and it's going to be modified based on this list of factors. There's +2 for each tank that you control. So my hand size is 4 +2 for this tank here. So I'm up to 6. All right. +1 card for each tank that I control within 400 meters of the center of the battlefield. Nicely enough, they have it right here at the range where it shows the little card symbol +1. So if you're in 0, 200, or 400, you get an extra card, and then there's some other bonuses depending on what scenario you're playing or things like that. But generally speaking, you do get an extra card for being here. I am at 800 meters. We're both starting at 800 meters, so I do not get that bonus. So I'm still at 6 cards. And I'm not going to go through this whole process on every turn, just walking you through it to start with. All right, so we do not get that one, and we get +1 card for each tank that has an elite commander. My commander is seasoned, the middle ground, so no bonus there. You would lose cards if you had a green crew. If you had a KIA commander, you would lose a card. Or for each on fire or broken card in the initiative box of any tank that they controlled. Here in your initiative box, when you take damage, that's where you're going to put things like on fire or broken, where your crew's upset because they're burning to death. So that will also cost you cards. Right now, after we've adjusted for all our modifiers, we've only got 6 cards. Generally speaking, if you're playing like a heads-up match where you're each controlling a couple of tanks, you'll have roughly 8 cards because you'll have your 4 base and then +2 for each of your units, and then depending, again, on commanders and all the other good stuff. So let's draw 6 cards here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I have shuffled this up, so I do not know what I'm getting. Let's see. We've got a move 7, a mud, a flank 8, which won't do me much good because my movement is a 6, a building, which is a terrain card, a move 1, and a move 4. Do I have anything that has fire on it? Ugh. The mud has fire 9, so yeah, I'm going to have to discard some cards because this is bad. And then looking at my battle numbers here, they're all high. My lowest number is a 47. Oh, that is so horrible. All right, we'll get to this here in just a second. All right, so I've drawn up to my hand size, but now we're in the initiative phase. And the initiative phase is where you decide which tank's going first. And you do that by picking off your cards, right, on your battle numbers. But here's the thing. This dummy doesn't have a hand of cards, so how's he going to get his initiative? Well, I have to pick my initiative first before he picks his. Now, I'm showing you guys how to play the game, not how to have great strategy. I don't know a good strategy for this game yet, so I'm just picking based off of what feels good at the moment. And I'm thinking this one, my flank 8 card, which is an 81. I'll go second more than likely. Just depends on what he ends up drawing, but I can't play a flank 8 card anyway. I'm 2 levels away from it. There are ways to temporarily raise your move level by playing order cards, but we're not going to worry about that for the moment. Now we need to look at our Robota. He has a few things that he has to do, like check for his peril level, which is basically how much trouble he's in. And then his initiative phase is handled by this whole huge block of text, which we're going to walk through slowly. Like I said, it's going to take a little bit because I really want to dig in and show you guys how the Robota works since I focus so much on the solitaire. All right, so same thing. Robota sequence of play. They're in their initiative phase. And all right, so one of the first things that you do is you always keep track of what the peril level is for the tank. And that's the shorthand is, how much trouble is he in? Again, whole list of modifiers to affect it. Right now, his peril level is going to be 0 because there's nothing affecting the game since we're just starting off. But a real quick down and dirty, there's +1 for each tank, and plus for this means that it's in peril. Negative means that it's not in peril. +1 for each tank that has it spotted, +1 for any acquisition that's against him, which is the bonus spotted, +2 for each player tank that has the active Robota tank flanked, +2 if the tank has a mine, mud, or field card in its holding box, +2 if the tank is bogged, and then -1 for each tank it has spotted, -1 for acquisitions, and then -2 for each player tank that the active Robota tank has flanked. So basically, the worse position it's in, the more peril it's in. The better position it's in, the more it reduces its peril level. None of those affect us at the moment, so this little peril marker will stay in 0. So we go to our initiative phase. Again, I have to place my card first. It goes in my initiative box, so my initiative for this round is an 81. Now we determine what the Robota tank's initiatives are going to be. So the way you're going to do that is, and again, it has it in red right. Again, it has it in red right here at the top, that all players will have to pick their initiative first. All right. So select an initiative card for each Robota tank from lowest to highest in identification number. So how you're going to do this is you're going to reveal 3 battle cards from the battle deck, maintaining the order. So let's do that real quick. First card, second card, third card. All right, so we've got 3 cards on here. Battle number 29, battle number 4, which is actually really good. Of course, it got great cards. Leadership cards are great. Command cards are great. Fire card at 28, great. Of course, the Robota got this. All right, you have to resolve any revealed command cards. Basically, the command card isn't really going to do much since we're pretty much starting off, but here at the top, it says command card priority. During the initiative phase, if any unspotted target is within 1,200 meters, gain a spot counter. We can't, and this is playing for this command card that it pulled. If spotted, attempt to conceal. It's not. If spotted, gain a spot counter for any unspotted target. So we will play it for that. We'll put this in our discard pile, and he has me spotted at this point, and that's for the command card. Actually, let's leave it out for now, since it's still going to come into play for our initiative phase here. Now, we've done step 2 here, which is to resolve the revealed command card. Now, determine its peril level, which we already did. It's a 0. Now, it's going to select one of the revealed battle cards to be its initiative, depending on if it's in peril, which it's not. So if it's in peril, it'll use the revealed battle card with the lowest battle number. If any revealed battle card has a number lower than 10, choose that battle card with the lowest number. This one has a 4, so he will use that one as his initiative. But going on from there, if there's one that's greater than 90, he'll use that. And then if it has a target spotted and blah, blah, blah. So basically it gives you this whole list of if this, then this, if this, then this, if this, then this. And you go down until one of these is true, and that becomes its battle card, which is its initiative card for this round. So my initiative is an 81, his initiative is a 4, and we start with the lowest number and work our way forward. We'll take these 2 cards that he pulled and we'll place them to the side. It gets discarded. Okay, so now you're going, okay, Gimpy, we know who's going first. What happens after that? When it comes to the initiative cards, when they're removed from the box, you take them out to kind of signify that that tank is gone. It helps, especially when you have more than 2 tanks, as a mnemonic reminder that that tank's already acted. All right, so we're going to pull this command card out, place it in our discard pile. We know that we're activating the robotic tank. He's going first. So now we are in our tank phase, and we're going to start with our administration step, which means we get into this whole huge list of what the hell does he want to do, which more than likely is going to be move. Now, beforehand, there is this deck of cards, which you deal off from the bottom, the robotic card. I already have one placed here for him. Depending on whether or not he's in peril, I should have mentioned this earlier, will determine whether or not you place it fully operational side up or in peril side up. And it will affect what he's going to do. But he's going to attempt to do one primary action and one secondary action. When it comes to this game, generally you can perform one tank action and then any number of field actions, which are kind of like secondary actions for the robotic tank. So effectively, they're trying to do the same thing that our tanks are trying to do. Now, when it comes to the administration step, this is a step where you're checking to determine whether or not the tank puts out fires, if it rallies a broken crew, moving damaged or killed members around, things like that. Since we're just starting, we don't have to really worry about the administration step currently because he doesn't have anything to administer. He's fully healthy. He has no fire. He's not morale broken or anything like that. So nothing to worry about now. We can go straight into our action step, and our action step is going to be handled very similar to how our initiative step was handled, in the fact that we reveal 3 battle cards from the deck, maintaining the order that they were revealed in, and he gets bonus cards. So this is effectively the Robata's hand of cards. If he's at the 400 meter range or less, so if he's in this red range, he gets an extra card, similar to how we do. If he has an elite crew, they reveal 1 extra. He doesn't. He's seasoned just like I am. If they get a green crew, they get 1 less. And if they have an KIA commander, they get 1 less. So right now, we're going to reveal 3 battle cards to determine what our action step's going to be. So we got 1, again, maintaining the order. You got a move, and a move. So all moves. And I promise I shuffled the shit out of this. Now, for the Robata, it's not as important of what they are as what their battle numbers are. if he had pulled any terrain cards, they would attempt to play those terrain cards on any enemy tanks that are moving. My tank is not moving right now. I would be considered moving if I had a move card in my move box. You would leave it there to signify that you are moving. So I'm not moving. He doesn't have any terrain cards. We don't have to worry about that. So we're going to continue on. And this is where we start looking at his robotic card to determine what he's going to do. He's going to attempt to do one primary action and then a single secondary action, at which point he goes to his cleanup step. So looking at our card here, let me get zoomed in so you guys can see it. At the top, it talks about shot qualities, his versus mine, like the enemies, and then what order he wants to execute his primary actions in. We don't have a mission priority. Like if we had a mission of take the hill and stay at a certain range so you could be on top of the hill, that would be a mission priority. We don't have that here. So we're going to look at his primary action, mission priority stuff here, or actions to determine the first one that he'd want to do. Second one listed down, fire at a high quality enemy target. Well, for him to have a high quality shot, it needs to be at least a 2-hit of 60. Looking at his 2-hit, right now we're at 1,600 meters apart from each other. If we look at his 1,600 meters, his to hit is a 21. We know right off the bat that no amount of modifiers that he's going to get, currently is going to help to get that. He would have to be at 1,000 meters just to get it to hit of 66, which then potentially we'd start looking at the modifiers applied. Like if I were moving or concealed, things like that, we'd have to check to make sure that it didn't drop him below. But we know that he is well below the requirements for a high quality shot. So he's not going to do that. Move if the robotic tank can flank an enemy or find terrain with greater cover. Well, there is a little chart here of if this and this and this, but he's not going to be able to flank me, not currently, and he doesn't have any terrain cards. So we look to see the next one, leadership, if effective, doesn't have any leadership, fire at low quality targets, and then otherwise move. So we know he's going to move. Now, the way they operate is based off of success checks, which is kind of weird, but hear me out. Let's walk through this. All right, so here it talks about your success checks, and that comes into play when you're doing a robotic move or a robotic fire action because they can't really operate off of hand of cards. So it's operating off of this target number that's listed down here at the bottom with that little target symbol next to it. All right, so when he's trying to generate success checks, what he needs to do is compare the activation level of the target number to the first revealed battle card. Well, to commit a move action, his move level is a 7. So the target number on this card needs to be equal to or under his move level. We're not looking at move 1, move 7, move 4. We're looking at this target number. Well, 3 is under that target number. So he does succeed there. He generates 1 success level. Now we continue on generating success levels because he can generate either 0, 1, or 2 success levels when it comes to performing these actions. He will compare the activation level to the target number of the second card if it is half of the activation level equal to or under. So basically what it's saying is that rounded up or rounded down? Rounded up. All right, so we look at his activation level. That's a 7. Half of that is 3.5, rounded up 4. So we are looking for the second target number to be a 4 or under. In this case, it's a 3, so it is still equal to or under. So that means he's generated 2 successes in his move action. That's when we start looking at this flow chart over here to determine what he's going to do. So basically we know that by performing its little checks here that he's got 2 success levels. And looking at this chart on the back, the Robota movement chart, it's one of those yes, no, and you walk on along. Does the enemy, you start here, does the enemy have a high quality shot? No. Can we reach a high quality shot? No. Can we do this? Can we reach a low quality shot? Well, yeah, you probably could reach a low quality shot by moving forward. When you follow this on, generally speaking, it's going to tell you to move either towards or away from your enemy, depending on whether or not the robot is in peril and trying to get out of it, or trying to get stuck in. Right now, he's trying to get stuck in, so he's going to do a couple of movement action forward. It also tells you later on down in the paragraphs that it will try to play a terrain card in its holding box if it got a terrain card. In this case, it did not get any terrain cards, so there's nothing to place there, but we know it's doing a couple of movement action forward. Since it is doing the movement action, and these cards do have the spotted, just as a reminder, we know that I am going to spot him automatically for performing his move action. But there is a special card for the Robota just for him, because normally we would place these move cards, one of the move cards rather, into the field box to signify that the tank is still in motion. Well, we don't put these cards in there because they all get discarded, but there is a special move card just for the Robota, and you place that there as it lists down here if it remains in motion. If it doesn't play a terrain card, then you will put that solo move card into its box to signify that it is still moving. And, you know, if we were to fire at it, that movement alone would give it a cover, make it harder to hit, so on and so forth. So after it's completed whatever action that it's going to do, in this case, we ended up moving. It got moved into a good position. It's at 400. It'll have extra cards later on, but now I can see it. And we're a little bit closer because we were at 1,600 meters apart. Now we're at 1,200, so that could affect what I want to do. There is a little cleanup phase for the Robota on what it's going to do. It tells you to finish off any command cards that were revealed. If it fired, it can attempt to acquire its target. You discard all the battle cards that are not in holding or initiative boxes. And if it is in peril, you will discard the Robota action card and deal the tank a new one from its little deck of cards. This guy is not in peril, so we'll leave this card here for now. And again, it'll change as the game goes on. And then you go to your next tank in order. So we'll take these 3 cards. It doesn't matter about the order now because they're getting discarded. And bam. So that's effectively how a Robota tank's action, how its hand of cards is dealt. You're doing the same thing when it comes to initiative and drawing for its actions. You're drawing a set of cards and then you're looking at these battle numbers, generally speaking, to determine, and the target number specifically, to determine what the course of action is going to be for the tank, because it needs to, it's kind of weird, it needs to operate, but you're not looking specifically for move cards and fire cards. But if you do draw specific cards like terrain cards or fire cards when you're performing those actions, you can get a bonus to those actions. Like, for example, if you're performing a fire action with the Robota, if one or more of the revealed battle cards is a fire card, you would apply the most favorable modifier from those cards to the to-hit number. And that right there, the success checks and the battle numbers and the target numbers, that was the part that really threw me for a loop when I was first playing it, because at first I thought they were talking about this. I thought they were talking about whatever number was listed up here like I would be looking for. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense because, I mean, if they don't pull that, how could they make that action? You know, what would work and blah, blah. I finally got my head wrapped around the stupid that I was messing up and realized they were talking about the target number when I read that it says, you know, the target number. And that makes a little bit of success. Makes a little bit of sense. The fact that the AI will perform a similar type of action that you can perform, because you'll see this probably in the next video since I've been dragging on a while trying to explain all the Robota. But when a human player plays cards, generally speaking, they can play 1, 2, or 3 cards to play a better action. So you can play one move card to do just a single move, or a couple move cards to do a double move, get into some terrain, things like that. There are leadership cards you can play to affect your shot if you're playing a fire action. So generating these success levels for the Robota is kind of the equivalent of playing multiple cards when it comes to a player playing their cards. So just in my personal opinion, when it comes to the solo AI, and you guys will see more because we're going to play through it until they blow each other out, the way the Robota system in this game works, it's not quite as intuitive as some other systems. It doesn't flow as easy, but I think it works well considering the way the card game is played itself, player against player, how they're actually setting it up to operate independent of player choice. Basically, it has to be a if this, then this, then this, then this. And I think coming up with the success levels was a good way to simulate a player playing multiple cards and still giving the AI some of the bonuses that they would get if a fire card came up or if a leadership card came up. That way they still get the same type of bonuses players get and can kind of react, based on these Robota cards to the player's actions. Anyway, we'll pause here. We'll pick up on the next one. I know we haven't done a whole lot. We've just gotten through the Robota's first turn. We haven't even done any of my actions yet. But like I said, I wanted to take it real slow when it came to the Robota and walk through it because I'm sure I can't be the only one who was having some issues with this. So you guys let me know if you have any questions or concerns about this, or you want something explained a little bit further or see more detail. We will be playing it further out, of course, though, because I still have multiple turns and I want to try to blow out a couple of T-34s before we end this video series. All right, but we'll break here for now. We'll pick up where we left off with my tank in the next video, show you guys how that's going to work with me actually playing the cards for what they're supposed to be, and see if we can get some rounds downrange here soon. All right, you guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.